Scroll disclaimer: this content is intended for a mature audience only. Viewer discretion is advised. I told him I was tired. My voice barely rose above the hush of the bedside lamp, its warm light flickering against the walls like a heartbeat, steady, soft, but full of things unspoken. I wasn't lying. My body felt heavy from the day, my shoulders carried more than just the weight of hours, they carried questions I hadn't said aloud. He looked at me, not with impatience, but something quieter. A pause. A searching. Like he was trying to read between the lines I hadn't written yet. And in that silence, something passed between us. Not words, but history. We were more than husband and wife. We were a memory in motion. Years of laughter between hallway walls, arguments muffled by pillow talk, mornings half said with sleepy hands brushing against the other. And yet, tonight felt different. He didn't stop when I said I was tired, but it wasn't forceful. No. It was tender, careful, like he believed there was something I needed to feel. That maybe what I called exhaustion was something else entirely. Something emotional. I lay there, my back against the mattress, my eyes half closed, but inside, I wasn't sleeping. I was remembering. I was aching. I was wondering when we stopped asking if the other was okay before reaching out in the dark. His hand found mine. Warm. Familiar. But new in its question. I wanted to be close, he whispered. And maybe that was it. Maybe closeness isn't always about rest or readiness, maybe it's about timing, and the ache to not feel like strangers in the same room. Still, I said nothing. Not yet. My heart beat too loud inside me. Because the truth is, I didn't know if I wanted him to stop. Or if I wanted him to understand why I asked him to. And as he leaned in, his breath near my ear, the question hung in the air, unspoken, unanswered. Would I pull away this time? Or let myself stay open long enough to feel what I'd buried? He didn't move fast. He never did when it truly mattered. Instead, he lay there next to me in that golden silence, the kind that wraps around two people who've known each other long enough to sense storms without needing thunder. His fingers brushed mine again. Slower this time. Not asking for permission. Just reminding me he was still there. That we were still here. And still. I said nothing. My lips pressed into a line, not angry, just holding back something I couldn't name. I wasn't mad at him. I wasn't even mad at us. I was tired in a way sleep wouldn't fix. The kind of tired that came from holding it all together. From pretending to be fine when all I wanted was for someone to notice I wasn't. He exhaled, quiet. Not defeated. Just, waiting. Maybe he sensed it, the weight behind my silence. Maybe he remembered the days I used to talk too much, laugh too easily, curl into him without thinking twice. Maybe he missed her, too, the version of me I left behind somewhere between laundry and long work days. I didn't mean to push, he said finally. His voice cracked a little, and that did something to me. I turned, just slightly. Not enough to face him fully, but enough to feel the warmth of him, the shape of his regret floating between us like breath. I know, I whispered. He nodded, though I couldn't see him. You haven't been here, not really. Not with me. There it was. The truth neither of us had dared to say. I had left the room long ago, not physically, but emotionally. I'd been showing up in body, not soul. And yet, here he was, still reaching. I wanted to cry, but didn't. I wanted to say sorry, but couldn't. So instead, I let his hand rest on mine. Not clasping it. Not claiming it. Just, being there. Like he used to be before words ever mattered. The silence between us wasn't empty anymore. It was full of things unsaid, and the quiet hope that maybe, just maybe, we weren't too far gone. He used to write me letters. Not long ones, just folded notes left in coat pockets or stuck to the bathroom mirror. Words like, "You looked tired today." "I'm proud of you." Or, "Don't forget who you are to me." I kept every single one. Pressed flat between pages of books I never finished. Lately, I've been thinking about those letters more than I'd like to admit. Maybe because I don't remember the last time he wrote me something that wasn't a grocery list. Or maybe because I don't remember the last time I read his words and believed them. As I lay beside him now, that quiet ache pulsed beneath my skin. Not from anything he did wrong, but from everything we stopped doing right. The closeness we had wasn't gone, it was just buried beneath the noise of life. Bills. Schedules. Dishes. Silent dinners. Missed moments. He shifted slightly, like he could feel my thoughts moving. "I miss us," he said, his voice almost inaudible. "Not just the good parts. I even miss when we used to fight, at least we were trying then." I swallowed the lump rising in my throat. That's what scared me most, not the fighting, not even the silence. It was the slow fade. The quiet distance that sneaks in while you're too busy to notice. And then there was the guilt. A week ago, I'd stood too long in the elevator at work with a man whose eyes lingered on me just a little too kindly. He didn't touch me. Didn't say anything wrong. But for one moment, I imagined what it would feel like to be seen again, fully, not just as a partner or caretaker or roommate. As me. I never told my husband. But I carried it in my chest like a confession I didn't want to speak, yet couldn't forget. It wasn't betrayal. Not in action. But maybe in longing. His fingers brushed mine again, just barely. A question. A wish. I didn't pull away. But I didn't lean in either. Instead, I whispered, "Do you ever think about when we were new?" He paused. Then said, "Every night." The silence that followed wasn't cold. It was warm. Dense. Fragile. And beneath it, something fragile began to stir. His breath was close now, not urgent, but steady. Like he was anchoring himself to the moment, or to me. I closed my eyes, not to sleep, but to feel. Sometimes, closing your eyes helps you see what's been there all along. We hadn't touched in days, not really. We'd passed each other like shadows in shared space. Shared a bed, shared bills, even shared silence, but not this. Not this closeness. Not this terrifying, trembling nearness where truths float just beneath skin. My body wasn't tired anymore. Not the way it was earlier. It was something else now, a tightness in my chest, a quiver in my fingers, a storm gathering behind my ribs. A deep ache to be held, not just physically, but emotionally. Fully. Like someone reaching into the space I didn't let anyone see. He shifted behind me, and I felt his hand gently graze the curve of my waist. It wasn't a grab. It wasn't a demand. It was a question. I didn't answer. But I didn't move away either. My heart beat louder than the room, each thud echoing with things I hadn't said. Like how I sometimes feared we'd never find our way back. Like how I blamed myself for letting the quiet grow between us. Like how I still wanted him, not just his body, but the man who used to stay up late dreaming with me about little things like Sunday pancakes or naming our future dog. I whispered, "Do you think we stopped choosing each other?" He didn't answer at first. Then, voice low, he said, "Maybe. Or maybe we just forgot how." His hand stayed on me. Still. Tender. It wasn't just his touch I felt, it was his hesitation. His hurt. His own version of guilt that didn't wear the same shape as mine, but lived in the same quiet corner. In that moment, everything between us felt bare, stripped of performance or pride. I turned to face him finally. His eyes found mine in the dim light, searching. And for a second, I didn't see my husband. I saw the boy who once kissed me in the rain, who once promised me forever with cracked lips and shaking hands. The man who was still trying, even when I wasn't sure I could. And still, I didn't kiss him. Not yet. But I almost did. And that almost burned more than anything. I almost kissed him. But before I could lean in, before the warmth of memory could turn into something real, his phone lit up on the nightstand. A quiet buzz. Just once. But it was enough. His eyes flicked toward it, just for a second. And I saw it, not the name, not the message, but the change in his face. That flicker of hesitation, the kind that doesn't come from curiosity, but from guilt. Something cold settled beneath my ribs. I didn't ask. I didn't need to. Because the way his hand slipped away from my waist, it told me more than any words ever could. I turned back onto my side, heart pounding, throat thick. I tried to breathe like nothing had changed, like we were still in that fragile space between forgiveness and falling again. But now, I wasn't sure what we were falling into. He didn't check the phone. He didn't move. But I could feel the tension rising off him like heat. And suddenly, I wasn't tired. I was awake, painfully, sharply awake to the realization that I wasn't the only one who drifted. Is there someone else? I asked, my voice barely audible. He froze. Not completely, just that subtle stillness that only comes when the truth is close enough to bruise. No, he said too quickly. Then, softer, there was a moment, but I didn't go through with it. His voice cracked at the edge, full of a truth too tangled to be clean. I stared at the ceiling. The soft shadows danced above me like ghosts of promises once made. My chest ached, not with betrayal, but with recognition. Because I understood. Not because it was okay, but because I had stood in that elevator, too. Neither of us had crossed a line. But we'd both leaned too far over the edge. Still, hearing it from him, it broke something open. Maybe love isn't always about what you do. Maybe it's also about what you almost do, and what that reveals. He whispered, I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't know how far we'd fallen. I turned to him again. My eyes burned, but I didn't cry. Neither did I said. And in that moment, not holding each other, not touching, we were the closest we'd been in months. The silence after his confession felt louder than any fight we'd ever had. But it wasn't sharp, it was soft. Worn out. Like two people finally stepping out of the performance and into the raw, quiet truth of each other. I could have yelled. I could have walked away. But I didn't. Because in that moment, I saw him, not just the man who'd almost strayed, but the man who had been silently asking for me to come back long before either of us knew we'd gone. I wanted to feel something, I whispered. Anything. I wanted to know I still mattered. His face cracked at that, not in anger, but in pain. The kind of pain that only comes when you realize the person you love felt invisible while lying beside you. You do matter, he said. But I stopped saying it, and maybe you stopped hearing it. I nodded. Not in agreement, in understanding. We had both been starving in the same house. His hand found mine again, not cautiously this time, but with purpose. He gripped it. Firm. Honest. I don't want to lose you, he said, voice trembling. Not to someone else, and not to the silence between us. Tears gathered in my eyes. I didn't wipe them. I let them fall, for the missed moments, for the almosts, for the nights spent pretending everything was fine. I don't want perfect, I told him. I just want real. I want us again. He leaned forward and kissed my forehead, not out of habit, but reverence. And in that small, sacred act, I felt something shift. Not everything was fixed. We still had long talks ahead, trust to rebuild, spaces to refill. But something opened, a door we both thought had rusted shut. Then came the twist I didn't expect. "I found one of your old notes," he said, pulling something from the drawer. A crumpled piece of paper, soft at the edges. It read, "If we ever forget what this love feels like, find this. And remember." My handwriting. I wrote it years ago, and forgot. He hadn't. In that moment, I realized, we were never truly lost. Just waiting to remember. The night settled around us like a blanket stitched with memories, some frayed, some warm, some still unfinished. We didn't speak for a while after that. We just lay there, holding hands, letting the silence say the rest. Sometimes healing doesn't happen in big declarations. Sometimes, it arrives in quiet understanding, in shared breath, in a thumb gently tracing the back of your hand, in the way someone chooses to stay even after seeing all your fault lines. He pressed the old note back into my palm, folding my fingers around it like a promise. And I realized something I hadn't allowed myself to believe in a long time: love doesn't disappear. It drifts. It pauses. It hides behind dishes and deadlines and long, aching silences, but if you're both willing, it can come home again. We didn't need to fix everything that night. That would take time. What we did need, what we found, was the courage to begin again. "I think we forgot how to see each other," I said quietly. He nodded. "Then let's practice. Every day." I smiled, not the smile you give to be polite. The real one. The kind that returns slowly after being gone too long. We fell asleep close, our bodies curled into the space that had once felt so wide and cold. It didn't feel fixed. But it felt possible. And sometimes, that's enough. As the morning light crept in, pale and forgiving, I knew things wouldn't go back to the way they were. But maybe, they weren't supposed to. Maybe love grows deeper not in its perfection, but in its persistence. And in the quiet after the storm, I heard it, his heartbeat. Steady. Familiar. Still choosing me. We weren't what we used to be, but maybe, just maybe, we were becoming something even more true.